Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I've just restarted the stream because good god, it is horrendous how many issues I've been having with my audio stuff. I don't know if it's the CPU or what, but I'm gonna go back and check the VOD that I just cut off by restarting the stream later to see if you hear it as well or if it's just a me problem. But like, the audio is completely scuffed and just like white noise, just absolute static in my ears, which as you may guess is very unpleasant. So yeah, anyway, hope you're all doing well. I hope that I've adjusted the audio levels to the appropriate amount, but we're gonna continue with the second part of the trial today for Natsume. To be completely honest, I don't entirely remember where we stepped off. Just that we did something. You know, the history would tell us. Tricks. Right. I'm trying to remember. I remember we were trying to get her to say like that she wasn't as good as she is by the names of the books, I think. So, yeah, we're just at the summation. Anyway. I have considered the defense counsel's request for further examination of the jury, and I have determined that the court must uphold the defense's judicial right to this procedure. So, counsel, you will now proceed with your second summation examination. I presume the jury is ready, Mr. Foreman? We are, my lord. Very good. In that case, I must ask each of you now to state clearly and concisely for the court the grounds on which you find the defendant guilty of this crime. Judicial findings. The accused left behind evidence at the scene, didn't he? Those 3 books of his. If there was some novel alternative explanation about how the victim was stabbed, I might reconsider. Even if the woman was throwing books, it can't be related to this crime. If the window was closed, can it? Daring me, it was only a little book. Hardly life 13, even with a direct hit. Look, I just want to get this over with. If I don't bring home some pay tonight, I'll be in a tidy bit of trouble. Come to think of it, you had a fire at home a while ago. Gave you the seizures, it did. Yes. Considerably more tangible arguments from old members of the jury this time around, it seems. With one notable exception, of course. My learned student friend wasn't able to find fault in the previous witness testimony. So the court must accept the fact that it was indeed the accused seen fleeing from the scene. And moreover, no one else was even at the scene to commit the crime. Well, if the eyewitnesses are correct, it would seem as if the conclusion is somewhat set in stone. I fail to see how it can be argued any other way. That means, I'm afraid, that during this summation examination, it's essential that you establish some other tangible explanation for the facts. But how? What would even constitute a tangible explanation here? Isn't it obvious? Who stabbed the woman and how? Those 2 details are all you need to provide. Simply give us a name and a method by which the attack was conducted. And there I was thinking this might be hard. But Mr. Naruhodo, you have to do it. Otherwise this really will be where the trial ends. No pressure then. Oh, sorry, my mouse is on the screen. There's quite enough preamble. Proceed with the summation examination, please. I presume you are prepared, counsel? Oh, yes, my lord. All right, Inosuke. Focus your mind now. 2 slaps. Clearly, the key to this summation examination is going to be journeyed before the maid, or should I say, Mrs. Garedeb. We have a book that disappeared from the Garedeb's house on the evening of the incident, and the 4th book found in the victim's hand. There must be a way to link the two. Yes, that's what we have to find. Using every technique I've learned in my short career so far. Whatever it takes. Don't forget to keep an eye on Miss Garrett and how she reacts, even to the things other people say. Oh, we gotta do this with the jury now, huh? Man, they just keep adding these little bits on. Really cute about those scenes. Alright. But as we now know, there were 4 books, not 3. Well, what difference does it make? There's every possibility that the 4th book, in fact, belongs to the defendant's landlord. Yes, that's the part I have a problem with. Sorry. Well, the point the woman stabbed this landlord fellow was at home, wasn't he? Enjoying a fiery scrap with his wife or something, you said. That's not exactly how I put it, no. Well, anyway, the point is, the fellow and his wife were somewhere else when it happened. I think that's what you call a strong alibi. So it couldn't have been the landlord who did it, which only needed the Nibbanese fellow. Honestly, can't see what all this pabbly is about. It's a done deal, isn't it? Wait, what if the maid accidentally threw a knife out the window? I suppose it is, since I've nothing witty left to say.
Hold it!
So, you might be willing to change your decision, you mean? Oh, my, such delight on your face. But I'm afraid I shan't be swayed by my emotion. Despite what you may think of me, I am a very modern, metropolitan, and rational woman. That's great. If one reads the morning papers, it's all forgotten by tea time, isn't it? So why read them in the first place? Oh, you see? Modern, metropolitan, and rational thinking. Wouldn't you say? And not at all extreme. As I see it, an overwhelmingly suspicious Japanese man has been implicated by overwhelmingly strong testimony. So despite 1 or 2 minor puzzles, I do declare this man is overwhelmingly good. Modern, metropolitan, and rational logic. What do you say? Overwhelmingly. But us modern gals are always delighted to embrace new fads, you know? So I'd be only too happy to consider an exciting new theory if you could come up with one. I'd be happy to do that too. Only I could. Let's do our very best not to disappoint the modern and metropolitan young lady. Right. I'm glad you admitted to rational there. Me too.
Hold it!
Pretty sure it was open, right? But what about the possibility that the window was open? What about it? I mean, there's just no way it could have been. How can you be so sure? The prosecutor fell over that earlier, didn't he? Winters in London are no joke. Don't want to invite that sort of cold indoors. So no, that window wasn't open. Us in London's like sitting by the fire and staying warm, see? But you couldn't categorically state that the window wasn't open, could you? It just wasn't. They wouldn't have opened it. Then what's the point in even having windows, huh? Counsel, you will kindly refrain from childish bickering. Sorry. Somehow I need to show that there's an undeniable possibility that the window was open. Because this young man isn't going to budge otherwise. Well, the fact that she has it in her hand.
Hold it!
But the little book was on fire at the time, was it not? With flames of love, I'll have you know? There's really no such thing as a loving incendiary bomb. Well, he brought it upon himself. He's playing with fire to betray a fiery love. Isn't it? Well, don't you agree? Oh. Well, any kind of betrayal is certainly a bad thing, yes? But I think the argument might have arisen out of your own misunderstanding, Mrs. Garrett. Never you mind that. The point is we were just having a jovial little dispute, nothing more. I don't have any more of these suggestions there was anything whatsoever to do with this crime. Right, we'll see about that. What about juror number 5? He doesn't seem to be turning a hair at Mrs. Garrett's relentless onslaughts. It's almost as though he's used to it. What a gentle soul he is. You just want to get this over with. How can you sit there and say something like that? A man's future is at stake here. Well, Tim and me both then, like I said before. What? I told you already I'm a day laborer, aren't I? If I don't bring home some readies with me tonight, you'll find me floating face down in the Thames tomorrow morning. What? You heard me. My missus doesn't want to mess about, you know. She'll be fierce, believe you me. Another shiny example of marital bliss, then. The situation this cropped up the other day. It was, you know, it's funny, but I can't quite remember. Sorry. It's too frightening. Well, that's the thing, I must have blocked it out. Helpful. I wonder if Mr. Beat will ever be dragged into the Thames by a scarf. Don't even go there, Mr. Sutter. There must be some way to jog his memory about this. Will that have anything to do with your decision about the defendant's culpability in this case? Sorry, what's that? You have to speak up, lad. Could you tell us more about that fire? It was last winter, it was. My grandchildren baked me a lovely cake on my birthday. It had 75 candles on the top, it did. What a sight to behold it was. You put candles on a cake? Was it some kind of devil worship? Of course not! It was an angel cake. To celebrate my birthday, obviously. It seems that a common custom here in Great Britain is... oh, that's a common custom, sorry. The fuck am I... Sorry, the second fiddle in this, or second violin maybe, rather, had a really interesting counter melody there. I don't know if you heard it. Anyway, I must have... Oh, my puff to blow them out! Only I must have blown wrong somehow. The flames didn't go up, but candles went flying all over the room. The furniture caught and everything went up. The whole place filled with smoke. Surprised she's not reacting to this. Definitely sounds like devil worship to me. And by the sneezes, I presume you mean a cold. But how do you catch a cold from a fire? What a fiasco it was. The grandchildren blessed them through water over me as they tried to put out the flames. And then because the whole room had filled with smoke, of course, we had to open all the windows to clear it. The windows. The party winter air rushed over me like the devil danced in my grave, it did. Caught a terrible cold from it. Been in hospital for a while. Won't forget that birthday in a hurry. I knew it was the devil worship all along. But something with this old man's story is playing on my mind for some reason. We need to demonstrate who, apart from Mr. Natsume, could have attacked the young woman on the street, as well as how he or she could have done it. Yes, but once again, the jurors' statements are full of personal prejudice. A lot of them seem convinced they're right, even in the face of logical arguments to the contrary. Think I need to put them against each other, force them to accept an alternative explanation? Yes. I don't necessarily need to find contradictions between their assertions. Just a connection might do the trick. Alright, I'll see what I can do. If anything stands out, I'll go in for a strike. That's the spirit. Okay. So we'll save here. So this guy in his window, right? I would think it would be this, right?
Objection!
These two juror statements quite clearly contradict one another. They do. Oh, it's actually console. Don't point at me again. I told you it wasn't me. What's that you say? Speak up, lad. Speak up. Juror number 3. Do you see? Oh, me? See what, sir? Did you hear juror number 6's account of his birthday celebrations last year? It seems, despite being a Londoner, he once opened his windows in the middle of winter. Well, yes, of course, but it was an emergency. I mean, obviously, if the room was filled with smoke from a fire, then you'd be mad not to. Open the... Oh! Exactly. On the day in question at the time of the incident, there was a fire in the Gyardeb household. And Mr. Gyardeb had the following to say about it. The whole place filled with smoke. Oh my hat.
Excuse me.
Juror number 4. Do you have something to say about that? Mrs. Gyardeb. Oh, dearie me. What is the meaning of this? How dare you imply that I'm hiding who I really am? It's imperative that you confirm something for the court. So please, it's time to drop the pretense now. What is it? When the fire started in your house that day, did you or your husband open the window? What? I beg your pardon. What are you insinuating? The room would have been thick with smoke after the carpet and bookcase caught fire as they did. In a situation like that, it's inconceivable that you wouldn't have opened the window. And what if we did? Oh, all right then. Yes, you're right. My husband was frantically trying to open the window, which can't have been easy, since I continued to give him a justly deserved book battering. Even though your house was on fire. You never stop throwing until the anger subsides. It'd be terribly bad for the nerves to do otherwise. Of course, I should have realized. That's a significant step forward, Mr. Naruto. You managed to establish that the window was open. We simply must have that added to Mrs. Gyardeb's formal statement. Okay. We're making progress. So, we now know that the window was definitely open. Do we pit them against each other?
Objection!
Like just to hammer it in?
Hold it!
Sorry, but as foreman, you have to object. It's nonsense. Banker, don't forget. There's no contradiction as far as I can see. Oh, okay. So apparently we're already good there? Sorry, I thought since it still showed that he was saying there was a possibility, then it had to be changed. But maybe I should press on him now instead?
Hold it!
At the point when the victim was attacked on Briar Road, we know there was a small house fire in the Gyardeb household on the opposite side of the street. Well, yes, it certainly seems that way. On account of the smoke, I imagine they would have had the windows wide open in spite of the cold. We also know that Mrs. Gyardeb was throwing flaming books at her husband. Her husband, who was backed into a corner by the window due to his wife's frenzied attack. Yes, that's right. So there's definitely a chance that one of the books could have flown past the man and out the window. Only what? Well, I can't really see how it could have gone all the way over to the other side of the road. That's all. So I don't really see how I could change my decision, really. Oh, I see. That wasn't enough. What is it going to take to persuade these people?
Hold it!
Okay, well, let's bother her. The fourth book found at the scene of the crime shows very obvious signs of fire damage. And the title of the book is The Lion's Pride. The same title, in fact, as the book that Mr. Gyardeb told us he had been reading. Well, I really couldn't say. On the day in question, did you or did you not throw at your husband the copy of The Lion's Pride that he'd been reading? I did. It was the first thing I could lay my hands on, so I hurled it straight at him. And now you come to mention it, yes. I was rather enjoying reading it, you're right. Why did you not reveal this information to the court from the outset? Because I couldn't, you insolent little man. I didn't remember. At times like that, you picked up and throw whatever you can lay your hands on as well, you know. I really don't. I barely noticed I was throwing a book, much less the title of it.
Excuse me!
What is it, juror number 5? You know something? I remember who it was. That memory I blocked out. Just listening to what this granny was saying. Brought her all floating back. Who are you calling a granny, you cheeky devil? I'm Mrs. Garedevil, the maid I have, you know. The man who doesn't even flinch. Please tell me that's not because he's so used to being hit all the time. Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago now. I just got back home after work, like. Put my hand in my pocket for the wages I earned that day and I nearly died. There was a hole. Every last penny I dropped out. Oh dear, what a disaster. You haven't heard the half of it, boy. Oh? The wife was cutting up some chicken at the time. I could hardly get the words out, but I told her straight. I lost the day's wages, love. Next thing I knew, the blade was whistling past my ear. Stuck into the wall next to me, it did. About an inch deep. No words, just terror. I could smell it then, you know. That god-awful stench of the Thames. I was sure I was going to end up face down in the muddy banks that night, I can tell you. Now, that's a real disaster, isn't it? I'll never use the word lightly again. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this. When women lose their rag, they'll throw anything at you. Knives, hatchet, hammers, you name it. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't think that all women are so short-tempered and unrefined. No, I wasn't thinking that. Throwing household objects at people as well. Well, it's so uncivilized. At least attack with honor, using a bow or the like. What? Attack? Who are you going to attack? Never mind. Anyway, this man's words could be rather significant, I think. Alright. Come back to the bow now, later. Right there. Okay. I'm wondering if this like somehow ties this together in some fashion, you know? Sorry, my phone vibrated. I mean, okay, this is probably not going to work, but I just want to know if we pit her against him, would it do anything?
Objection!
Like, will it get it to the point where we say that, like, they throw stuff? Good grief. You don't mean they contradict each other. Explain, counsel, at once. Juror number 2, do you think perhaps that this could be one such novel alternative? What? Whatever do you mean? An alternative explanation as to how the victim was stabbed in the back. What are you talking about? We've demonstrated that the 4th book, The Lion's Pride, that was found at the scene of the crime, originated in Mr. Garedev's room on the top floor of his house. Therefore, it's equally possible that some other object besides the book could have found its way from the Garedev household to the street below. What's that now? After all, Mrs. Garedev could have thrown a number of different objects at her husband. Isn't that right, juror number 4? What are you insinuating now, you little beanpole? Beginning to think that ever since the true origins of this book came to light, perhaps she's had a feeling this might be what happened. Now you listen here, you Eastern Gala. As a foreman of this journey, I demand a straight answer. You give us this yarn about some other object making its way out of the house, but what? What was it? I'm really taking a big gamble here. There's a bold accusation to make, but I haven't any real evidence to back it up. But I'm certain that at the very least this warrants further investigation. Alright, Mr. Foreman, I'll try to explain the defense's theory. The other object that found its way from the Garedev household to the scene of the crime was...
Take that!
June before, Mrs. Garedev. What now? I must apologize in advance for this. But I need you to confirm something else for the court. This knife. Have you ever seen this knife before?
Good Lord, Counsel, what on earth are you doing? That's the whipping that was lodged into the victim's back, man.
My lord, remember that when the victim was attacked, Mr. and Mrs. Gerda were in the throes of an argument. Mrs. Gerda was hurling anything she could at her husband, who'd been backed up against the window. A window that had been opened to clear the smoke, and through which a book sailed to land at this crime scene.
I can't seriously believe that. The book was found in the victim's grasp.
Are you saying that it flew out of the window and across the street to land neatly in her hand?
Ugh, my missus hasn't got aim like that.
Yes, I admit, there are many details we don't yet understand. But that's the point. That's precisely why. We must not allow this trial to end. Not right now. Oh my. Mrs. Gerda, your answer, please. Have you seen this knife before or not? Oh,
My lord.
I wish to change my decision. I'm a woman of my word, after all. Thank you, madame.
Yes, I agree. I certainly didn't see this coming, but I just don't think it would be right for this trial to come to an end now with so many unanswered questions.
Mr. Foreman.
I'd have to agree. Not that I think the granny didn't mind.
Yes, you know what? I'm not quite happy about this at the moment either.
All together now, ladies and gents.
What? Oh, well, he probably didn't actually hear anything, did he? We did it. Oh, congratulations, Mr. Naruhodo.
So as a result of the defense's summation examination, a number of jurors' leanings have changed. 2 jurors called guilty against 4 now called innocent. Accordingly, the opinion of this court is divided, and this trial will continue.
It's moments like this that I'm really happy that I'm using the VTuber rig for this game, because you do not want to see the faces I make to make this man's voice.
Now then, Lord Van Zieks, how does the prosecution wish to proceed?
This trial is rapidly descending into a farce. Like a corked wine. The first few sips are bitter enough.
But what follows is so repugnant, it's good for nothing save the gutter.
If I may, Lord Van Zieks,
the defense has just put forward a credible alternative explanation for what happened.
credible.
Is that your considered opinion, Mr. Foreman? The defense's argument is a joke to which I barely know how to respond.
But let me start by insisting
that you must all that you all must familiarize yourself better with the relative positions of those places being discussed.
What do you mean by that?
What's his angle this time? It should already be more than apparent that between the crime scene and the Gyardub's household runs a rather wide street, Briar Road.
Which means the distance from the Gyardub house to the scene is some, 15 yards. Dude, 45 feet is not that far. Let me see. 15 yards. That's around 14 meters. 14 meters? Wow. That's a little farther than I imagined.
And, as you ladies and gentlemen of the jury rightly noted as having portentous significance, the 4th book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, the smoldering book, wantonly hurled by the lady of the house, traveled some 15 yards to land on the opposite side of the road, neatly between the collapsed victim's fingers and thumb. Is that your final conclusion, my learned and deluded friend? And did the jackknife follow in the identical trajectory to plunge into the middle of the victim's back? This fantasy is what's stretching the notion of having a bad day for the victim, I think. Even those pathetic serialized detective stories have more believable plots. That's a real insult right there. There's nothing I can say to that. The prosecutor loves the sound of his own voice. Mr. Sato. Serialized detective stories are pathetic, are they? How dare he? Maybe let's not pick up battles here. My lord, might I be allowed to speak? As judicial assistant, you may speak for the defense, yes. Go ahead. The prosecution may consider the idea a fantasy, but what the defense has postulated was believable enough to persuade the jury to change its leaning. And as such, the court has a duty to explore this alternative explanation as thoroughly as possible. To that end, juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Gerda, must be called to testify and submit to cross-examination. Saints alive! A cross-examination of a juror? Order! 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 Well, this is highly irregular. It is unprecedented for a member of the jury to be summoned to the witness stand.
Objection!
And unnecessary. Lord von Zeeks. There are already witnesses in the stand whose testimony the defense may further cross-examining. If my learned friend's farcical theory has any truth in it, then both a burning book and a jackknife must have flown through the sky before this couple's eyes. We must assume that they'll be able to testify accordingly. I don't see why Van Zeeks thinks that it has to happen after she's already dead. Like couldn't it have hit them before? You know, like maybe she bent down to pick up the book because she saw a burning book in front of her or something like that, and when she bent down, the knife like flew over and hit her. I don't know. What say you, witnesses?
Yes, sir. Constable Rolly Beat ready purported for duty, sir.
Well, good morning, officer.
Sorry for dozing until now, sir. I haven't slept for a month on account of a villain who's appeared on my beat, sir. Oh, they are so heroic, these London bobbies. Patricia, my darling, I've been neglecting you, but no more. Oh, Rolly, my hero. You make me swoon.
Very well. I hereby reject the defense's request.
Oh.
And order the witnesses in the stand to testify again. State forthwith before the court any details pertaining to the defense's alternative explanation of events.
Yes, sir. This case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett. Believe me, London Bobby's good for his word. You see, sir, the windows on the top floor of the Garrett's house are top hinge casements. Obviously, if they'd even thrown out the window, would have seen it. I did leave the scene to go and fetch help, but my trusty Rolly was there to make sure nothing was disturbed. I didn't take my eyes off the crime for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir.
His eye. His singular eye, because his other one was buried in the snow while he was sleeping. Well, this is quite startling. Top hinge casement windows. That detail was not in the police report, Constable.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I must have been a little drowsy.
You cannot excuse your sins with drowsiness every time, Constable.
No, sir!
Sorry, but
what exactly is a top hinge casement window?
And you cannot excuse your ignorance with such trite remarks, my learned friend.
Of course. Sorry. I found it, Mr. Naruhodo. Cast your mind back to the windows in Mr. and Mrs. Gerdab's room.
Alright, I'll try.
So the window opens in order to allow air to circulate inside the house. Oh. But as it's a top hinged casement window, it swings open along the upper edge, you see. I'm glad you rectified your ignorance. A casement window's most prominent feature is its stay, a metal bar which prevents the window from being opened beyond a certain amount. It prevents its opening. This is all news to me. Absolutely correct, sir. In other words, if a book or knife would have been thrown through the open window, it would have clattered against the pane and fallen straight down to the pavement below. No. You see the problem, then? Good. Your education in Windows is complete. There was never any possibility of either the book or the knife traveling 15 yards over the road. That is, unless the window pane has been shattered, something we've discounted already. That can't be! Did you see that, Rolly? That young Japanese man just collapsed in agony. Oh yes, my darling. I saw it. I saw her crumbled before me. Oh, Rolly, you're so strong. How has this happened? I haven't even started the cross-examination yet, and already my argument's been destroyed.
Counsel, if you would drag yourself up upright again, the court awaits your cross-examination.
My lord, good. Another desperate situation. In his previous defense, didn't he basically say he fell asleep, though?
Hold it!
How can you say that for certain? A very good question, sir. And the answer is this. As the noble founding principles of the force written on it as reminded to all of us policemen of our sworn duty. He showed us that before, didn't he? Did he? Gods, I remember. To patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. That's what the job's all about. And that's why I can stand here today beside my long-suffering wife and tell you Bobbie's good for his word. While rubbing my tired eyes, admittedly. Sir! Oh, Rolly, you're so manly. Of course I am, my darling Patricia. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, bother. No, none of this is what I meant. I meant, how can you say for certain that this case has nothing to do with Mr. and Mrs. Garrett? Well, I see, sir. You should have said so earlier. Sir. Yes, well. So could you answer the question? That was a waste of time, then. Absolutely, sir. I'll answer to the fullest of my ability, sir. There's a surprising reason why Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's domestic dispute can't be related to this case. But before I get to that, sir, just one thing. Yes? I'd very much like you and all your countrymen to understand the great British institution of Scotland Yard. So I hope you'll take back some tales of us London bobbies and how we uphold our guiding principles. I wasn't planning on going back just yet. I've only just arrived here. So to that end, sir, I'd be happy to lend you my warrant card for your perusal. I must warn you, you won't be able to get through it without shedding a few tears. Thank you, I'll try. Identifies Bobbie contains the rules. Okay, well that's new evidence. We're just gonna save real quick. A policeman must strive to preserve the peace within his beat. Patrolling officer is expected to walk 20 miles around his beat every day. Any crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the beat in which they are discovered. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigation of detectives. Wait a minute. It's not his beat, right? Which means there's another policeman involved in this? Perhaps we can get him to come to the stand?
Hold it!
That seems like something. But which you mean they don't open fully, is that correct? Yes, sir! They're just there to allow a bit of air through the house, you see. So they restricted us how much they open. And therefore, anything thrown out the window from inside the room would simply strike the pane and fall to the street directly below. For clarity, allow me to mark my map. Here is the location where objects would have fallen. Yes, directly opposite the scene of the crime, on the other side of the rather wide road. Would have been so hard for somebody to mention this top hinge casement thing before. Well, I have another question for you, Constable. And what would that be, sir? How do you even know? Why would you have any idea what sort of windows Mr. and Mrs. Garrett's house is furnished with? Ah, well, sir, that's very simple. You see, I helped with the investigation yesterday. You helped? In what way? Various members of the public were questioned in order to gather information about the case. That's right, sir. The sad truth is we're all overworked. Something that wasn't under the jurisdiction of my own beat. Obviously wanted to help. I see. Well, thank you. Oh, is it my turn now? Alright. Let's go back and pursue. I just wanted to see all the dialogue from the... Unfortunately, it means we have to click through this again, but, you know. No one would have dragged her across the street after she was stabbed, right? Like, that would involve other people, so...
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Mrs. Beat? Sorry. You look, well, delighted. Is there some particular reason for that? Oh, I was just remembering. That's all. We really were so lucky. Lucky? What do you mean? Well, of course I feel terrible for the poor woman who was attacked. Don't misunderstand me, please. But we were just so lucky it didn't happen on Rolly's beat. It was so close, you see. Oh, I hadn't realized. Oh yes, that street, Briar Road. That's the boundary between Rolly's beat and the next one. Isn't that right, my love? Wait, did it happen and then he moved them over? So that it wouldn't be on his beat? So they could get on with their date or something? Constable Beat! Yes, that's right. That's the reason I was helping out with interviewing the occupants of the Garrett household yesterday. The house is on my beat, you see, sir. Oh, so he's the helper. I really was cutting it close then. Constable, I wonder if you could clarify something. If the Garrett household is on your beat, does that mean that the pavement next to it as well? Outside Mr. Garrett's house? Yes, ma'am. Pavement on that side of the road is part of my beat. I see. I was unaware of that. Just think. If the woman had been attacked just on the other side of Briar Road, we'd never have been able to go for that meal to celebrate our wedding anniversary. But that's the life of a bobbie, after all. Extraordinary people are bobbies, tirelessly working for the benefit of all Londoners. You know what I think? I think it was the good Lord's way of rewarding my Rolly for his hard work. Don't you think so, my darling? That must be it, Pat, my love. That must be it. I think perhaps we should make sure we have that information officially on record. Leave it to me, Mr. Naruhodo. I'll take care of it immediately. Alright, there we go. And now it's my turn, I think. Oh, I guess I could have pursued it. Or, like, you know, not had to repeat it. If it hadn't been thrown out the window, we would have seen it. Alright, let's save because our evidence got updated.
Hold it!
But according to my notes here, the sun had gone down already and it was dark. Oh, but Rolly and I were strolling along, gazing at the night sky and looking for our lucky star. Sorry. The star that would guide us to eternal happiness. Can't it guide you to answer the question? If a flaming book had cut across the sky in front of us, it would have lit up like a shooting star. If I had seen a shooting star, I would have made a wish upon it. Let Rolly be an inspector, I would have said. 3 times at least. Of course, what with the smog and everything, we couldn't actually see any stars.
In short, are you trying to say that neither a book nor a knife crossed the sky before you?
Yes, sir. That is correct, sir. As sure as the night sky in London is starless, sir.
Certainly seems like they're telling the truth.
And then we saw the poor woman fall to the ground, so we ran straight over to help her.
Wait, what? But you saw her fall to the ground? Like as in when she got stabbed?
Hold it!
Yes, you said that you went to a nearby police box to fetch another officer. Is that right? That's right, yes. If it had been on Rolly Beat, we would have known exactly where I was going, of course. Don't feel bad, my love. You can't be expecting the location of every police box on every beat. So Rolly told me the way. Only, I sort of got a little lost in the way. Patricia, my darling, that's why I love you. Your terrible sense of direction is bewildering, is bewitching to me.
I mean, I can see that.
Sometimes a little bit of ditziness is cute. Oh, Pat. Oh, Rolly. Oh, please. So I suppose I was gone for about 15 minutes. But, like I said, my Rolly was at the scene the whole time, making sure nothing was disturbed. I was off duty at the time, of course, but a true bobbie is never really off duty, sir. I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for one moment, sir. Nothing strange to report on that front, sir.
Hold it!
Nothing to report. That's correct, sir. Had my eyes wide open the entire time. Never looked away for a second. No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on the yard's honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir. Strange, sir? Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the Lion's Pride was originally in the Gyardup's household. So the question remains, how did it find its way into the hand of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as you were at the scene of the crime the entire time? Aha! Could it be a different copy, sir? One that just happened to be burnt as well? Even if that were possible, why would the victim have been gripping a book like that in her hand? As we can see from this photograph of print, she had a bag over her shoulder. Oh, sir, that book was in the lady's hand from the moment we arrived at the scene. Is that so? There's something about this statement that's not sitting right with me. The two mysteries, how that knife ended up in her bag, and how that book ended up in her hand. There must be some common thread between them. Can I ask you something? Please, Mr. Lawyer, sir? Yes, of course. What is it? You're doubting us, aren't you? I can tell. What? I wasn't really. I mean, what's she doing? Please, just because I'm a woman, it doesn't make my testimony any less valuable. You might just see me as the wife of a policeman, but I'm a woman of my word, I am. I really don't remember ever suggesting that I doubted you. No excuses. I don't want to hear it. My voice will be heard. My lord, you'll let me speak, won't you?
Yes, Mrs. Beat. I will allow you to supplement your testimony if you so desire. Sometimes the path of least resistance is the sage one.
That was a very loud mutter.
I heard that. That Japanese man thinks a policeman's wife's word counts for nothing, does he? Well, watch out, sir. I might get away with something like that, but my Rolly won't.
Duly noted, Mrs. Beat. Please, I humbly ask you to continue.
What could she possibly be about to say, I wonder? I know what I saw. My eyes never let me down.
Well, go ahead and press them.
Hold it!
Sorry, like I pressed this already. Is she gonna supplement it off of that? Mrs. Beat, nobody is questioning what you told us.
I saw it, I did. That evening I saw it clearly. The little Eastern man with the whiskers and the funny curved back, slinking away from the scene.
Uh,
And I know what I didn't see as well. I didn't see any flaming books or knives flying through the sky.
all very clear.
You also mentioned something about having a poor sense of direction. Oh, yes, well, that's a little embarrassing, really. I'm always ending up at the wrong place when I've made arrangements to meet Rolly. He gets ever so cross.
Excuse me!
Constable Beat, is there a problem?
No, sir. No problem, sir.
Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Sorry, wrong voice.
Oh, in a way, sir, yes, sir. I was just remembering that the same thing happened that evening, is all.
You mean Mrs. Beat lost her way on the night of the incident?
Well, you see, I sent her off to find a police box in the next beat over from mine, but she was gone a fair bit longer than what I was expecting. I thought she'd be back inside 10 minutes, but my darling was gone a good 15. Oh, Rolly, you're such a tease. But the reason I was so long was because of the bouquet, silly. The bouquet.
Sorry, what bouquet are you talking about?
Oh, it was a present for our wedding anniversary. Rolly's so romantic. He saved up for it with the farthings and halfpennies he found in the gutter while doing his rounds.
Yes, how
romantic. I'd forgotten all about it until just now. Adieu, my darling. Yes. But that was just between us. No talking about it to anyone else, darling. You have to promise. Really? Oh.
What was that about? Constable Beat looked very obviously troubled during that last exchange.
I'm afraid I can't offer any useful insight, Mr. Naruhodo. But I'm quite sure of one thing. We have to ask Mrs. Beat about the bouquet.
Mrs. Beat, this bouquet you just mentioned. I'd like you to add details about it to your testimony, please.
Oh, really? Yes, I'd love to. What happened was I dropped my bouquet and ended up losing my way for a while.
Hold it!
You mean you dropped the bouquet at the scene of the crime?
Yes, that's right. Oh, I was so upset. When we ran over and saw it was a woman with a knife in her back, I was so shocked. I dropped the bouquet Rolly gave me. I was in a dark spot where the streetlights weren't casting any light, so I didn't notice it at first. And then you went to the police box to report it to the policeman whose beat it was on. Yes. And I came back to the scene together with the other constable, you see. That's when I spotted my bouquet again. But the funny thing was, when I went to pick it up, there was no one near the victim's body at all.
In case you need reminding, Mrs. Beat, the victim is not deceased.
I was all flustered for a moment before I heard a voice calling me from the other side of the road.
Your husband, presumably.
That's right, silly me. I got over to the wrong side of the street. Although, I'm going to blame the bouquet at this time. I can't think of how it got there. I really can't.
So the bouquet somehow moved from one side of Briar Road to the opposite. Curious indeed.
Isn't it? But the worst of it is, I got to pick the bouquet up again when we left the scene. That beautiful rose Rolly bought me, with that change from the gutter he spent so long collecting. by bouquet. Do you perhaps mean this, sorry, solitary rose?
Oh. Oh, yes! Yes, that's it. That's the bouquet Rolly bought me for our anniversary, with old bits of change he found in the gutter.
Maybe he just called it a rose. Tell us, Lord Von Zeeks, where did you come by the flower? According to the report by the police officer in charge of the crime scene investigation, it was found on the edge of the pavement in front of the Gerdeb household.
In front of the Gerdeb's house?
Although it wasn't noticed until the morning, as it lay where the street lamps cast no light. It was believed to be of no relevance to the case, as it was found on the opposite side of the thoroughfare.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Could I have it back now, please?
No, I think for good measure this road should be added to the court record as evidence.
Oh. So, she was on the side of the street where Mrs. Gerdeb and Mr. Gerdeb were fighting then, so that could have happened. But that doesn't explain how the body got to the other side. Unless Rolly was asleep, of course. And was moved. But it's a symbol of our love. I want it back after the trial. Do you hear me? I want it back.
Good grief. Rest assured that I shall do my very best not to forget, Mrs. Beat.
I didn't take my eye off the crime scene for a moment.
Hold it!
Nothing to report. That's correct, sir. Had my eyes wide open the entire time. I've looked away for a second. No one's approached the scene and nothing was removed from it. I can swear to that on Yah's honor, sir. Really? That seems a little strange. Beg your pardon, sir? Strange, sir? Seems altogether regular to me. This burnt copy of the London Pride was originally in the Gerdeb household. The question remains, how did it find its way into the hands of the victim? Can you shed any light on that, seeing as with the crime, seeing the crime the entire time? Aha! Well, no, we've already read this. Did I? Wait, what? I'm confused. From the moment they arrived at the scene. So therefore she was on the side of the house as the Gerdeb, right? What do you make of all this? The whole idea of an invisible attacker has been troubling me all along, but I'm starting to get a picture of what really happened here now. The fourth book that had no business being at the scene of the crime made me sure that Mrs. Gerdeb was hiding something from us, but it's becoming increasingly clear that someone else has been hiding something from us as well. I think I may already be armed with everything I need to strike a decisive blow here. This time, it's going to expose the whole truth about this mysterious affair. Okay. So apparently I now have everything I need. So the question becomes, you know, all of this. So she was clearly moved, right? So I think the bouquet is the thing to use, probably. Or rather, did he mark the map? Yeah. I wonder if the map is what we should be using. Because, like, Van Zeek's marked right here, right? Directly opposite. No, shit, I pressed right. There's also the idea that we could present someone instead, but... It must be... Is it the bouquet?
Objection!
It's got to be the bouquet, right? Like, that's the whole thing that ties this together that says she dropped it on the wrong side of the street, right? You claim, Constable Beat, that there was nothing to report in the 15 or so minutes you were guarding the scene. But that cannot be. What do you mean to say? In your testimony just now, Mrs. Beat, you explained to the court that when you arrived back at the scene of the crime, with the policeman assigned to that beat, the bouquet you had dropped at the victim's side was no longer anywhere nearby.
Objection!
Yes, on the opposite side of Briar Road to where the victim was attacked. But considering the size of that meager bouquet, if a single sorry bloom can be so described, no doubt it was blown in the wind across the street, back into the gutter where it belongs. Meager?
Objection!
But if that were the case, why did Constable Beat not testify to the fact? No one else approached the scene, and nothing was removed from it. Constable Beat swore to that on Scotland Yard's honor. But the bouquet belonged to me. That has nothing to do with the case. That's why Rolly didn't mention it, I'm sure. No. Because sadly, it's not only your bouquet we're talking about here. More than one thing in this case is mysteriously the wrong way round. What are you talking about? Think about it. Besides Mrs. Beat's bouquet, there's Mr. Gerdib's book. Mr. Gerdib's copy of The Lion's Pride, which was thrown out the window by his wife. It would have struck the pane of the casement window and landed here, on the west side of the street. And yet, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in the victim's hand. Meanwhile, according to the testimony we've heard, Mrs. Beat's bouquet should have been dropped here, at the scene of the crime, on the east side of the street. But in fact, it was actually found here, on the opposite side of the road, in front of Mr. and Mrs. Gerdib's house. There's no logical explanation for those things, unless somebody deliberately moved them. What are you trying to say? The way you're talking, it sounds like you think my Rolly's done something wrong. Don't you dare listen to a word that squatty lawyer says. Putting out our books and bouquets. Why should we care? It's nitpicking, that's what it is. Oh, good. Mrs. Gerdib's gone round. You might call it nitpicking, Mrs. Gerdib. But deliberately meddling with the scene of a crime is a criminal offense. It's called tampering, Mr. Naruhodo. But the person responsible for this tampering cannot admit to it for a very subtle but compelling reason.
Objection!
Tampering. You barely heard the term before. Tell us, my learned friend, who would possibly have had cause to carry out such an elaborate deception? Yes, there is someone who tampered with the scene of the crime that evening. All the evidence, all the testimony points to that one particular person. Counsel, I must demand that you substantiate this conjecture. Who are you saying is responsible for tampering with the scene of the crime? Man. It's one of these two. Do we think it's Beat himself because he wanted to like finally spend time with his wife and have a night off? Or do we think it's the wife? No, it's got to be Rolly, because even though she has a bad sense of direction, he would rely on that to just like think it's like, oh, it's my bad sense of direction that brought me back to the wrong place.
Take that!
I think it's gotta be Rolly. Obviously. There's only one person it could have been. Constable Rolly Beat. It was you.
What? A policeman? Member of Scotland Yard?
What nonsense! Why would I really do something like that? There's no one straighter than my husband. No Bobbie works more tirelessly for the people of London. Mrs. Beat. You've said in your testimony that your husband asked you to go to a nearby police box to fetch the officer on duty. The 15 minutes that you were absent from the scene is the only opportunity anyone had to tamper with it. You're making it up. It's all nonsense. It's all lies. What about that Japanese man with the whiskers? I bet it was him. He did it.
Objection!
If that was true, Constable Beat would have seen him do it. Oh. And forgive me for pointing it out, but when you dropped your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, it was after the defendant had fled the scene.
Objection! First, you make accusations about the landlord and his wife, and now you incriminate a policeman as well. But your accusations lack one very important thing. You claim the crime scene was tampered with, but there's only one reason anyone would commit such a reckless crime: to hide something.
That's right. He's right. My husband and I just happened to be there. That's all. So, why would we have anything to hide? Doesn't make sense.
You've offered no motive for this alleged tampering. Until you do, your accusations are nothing but empty threats.
Constable Beat had a very good reason for wanting to tamper with the scene of the crime. That's the key to this entire affair. Mr. Naruhodo, have you managed to solve this mystery?
Counsel, you have made a very serious accusation against a London police officer. If you are mistaken, I'm sure I need not point out that your reputation as a lawyer will be irrevocably damaged. With that stark warning in mind, you will now explain to the court the motive for this alleged tampering.
Yes, my lord. Constable Beat's motive for tampering with the crime scene was to hide where the book fell, where the bouquet fell, where the victim fell. Where the victim fell. Because if it's not on his beat, he can spend the rest of the evening with his wife. Where the victim fell to the ground. That is what this bobbie had to cover up at all costs.
What?
Where the victim fell? You mean where she was attacked? What are you talking about? We told you at the very start, didn't we? On the pavement on Briar Road. We saw it happen, remember? It was right here. As if anyone didn't already know.
That's certainly what everybody has been led to believe.
But in fact, that isn't where the victim was stabbed at all. What? What?
I'm beginning to wonder where this tumultuous trial will end, Counsel. If that's your assertion, then the court is dying to know, my Nipponese friend. Where are you proposing that the crime actually took place that evening?
Yeah.
Take that!
But that's on the opposite side of the road.
I don't understand. On the evening in question, Mr. Guerrero's book fell directly down from the open window above, and your bouquet, Mrs. Beat, never moved at all. What did move was the scene of the crime itself.
Good gracious!
Objection!
Perhaps you haven't been listening to the ample testimony the court has heard. But these witnesses both saw the moment the attack took place.
That's right. I saw it with my own eyes. It was 5 o'clock in the evening, and already dark. There was the typical London fog on the ground. When you saw the incident unfold and ran to the victim's aid, that was actually on the west side of Briar Road. No, that's not true. It can't have been. Constable Beat then arranged for you to be absent for a while by sending you for help. And during the 15 minutes you were away, he transplanted the crime scene. He moved all the things shown in this print, the victim herself, the 4 books. He moved everything, in fact, to the pavement on the east side of Briar Road.
Extraordinary.
But the constable overlooked one thing. What did he overlook?
The bouquet, I presume.
Exactly. And the prosecution told the court just a few minutes ago about the discovery of the rose bouquet. Lord Von Zeek said it wasn't noticed until the morning as it lay where the street lamps cast no light.
Yes, it couldn't be seen in the dark, obviously.
Which is why it was only the bouquet that was found in its original position, on the pavement on the west side of Briar Road. And that is the defense's theory about what really happened that evening. How do you respond, Constable Rolly Beat? Oh, is he awake now? No. Well, I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to nod off again, but I haven't slept properly in a month. Did I miss anything important? Oh, Rolly. It isn't true, is it? What that lawyer said is all lies, isn't it? I know it is, because you're the most upstanding, righteous man I know. I had a dream, a terrible dream. All the things I did that night, everything come out, everything exposed. Only it seems... it wasn't a dream at all.
Good. Good golly. Order! 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 What on earth is the meaning of all this?
Oh, Rolly, why? Why would you do something like this? Moving a corpse is a criminal offense, isn't it? Wishing the victim dead should be one too.
Constable, explain yourself. Why would you do this? As a respected member of Scotland Yard, your duty is to protect the good people of London Town.
I can't say, sir.
What?
I really am ever so sorry about all this. For damaging the Yard's reputation, for everything. I have a possible explanation for why, on that particular evening, Constable Beat felt compelled to move the scene of the crime. I can think of one reason.
What? How could you possibly know? You, a foreigner, presuming to understand the mind of a Scotland Yard policeman. And yet, Lord Von Zeek, it is this foreigner who has uncovered the startling truth of the matter thus far. I believe it would be beneficial to the court to hear this extraordinary young lawyer's theory. Counsel for the defense, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
Now then, I think you had better show us some evidence.
At once, my lord. England, Japan. It makes no difference where you come from. Human emotions are the same. And I think I have a fairly good idea of the feelings behind this man's actions.
What gives away the motive for Constable Beat's unthinkable actions?
It's his booklet.
Take that!
I realize that I am a foreigner in this land, and I've only just arrived from Japan, which is why all this information about London's so-called bobbies is completely new to me. I've learned that, though honorable, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world, for example.
Keeping the peace, looking after the citizens on his beat in all kinds of ways. There's no doubt that the young bobby is charged with a great deal to do each day, certainly.
But with Constable Beat, the day in question was special.
Special? How?
On account of this bouquet, my lord. Oh yes. It was our very first wedding anniversary. Constable Beat had worked so hard to be able to afford this simple gift for his wife. He was so looking forward to taking her out for a celebratory meal.
When he and Mrs. Beat stumbled upon a crime along Briar Road. When he saw that shadowy figure through the fog collapse on the pavement ahead of him, What must have gone through the man's mind?
It's there. Just on that one particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. Beat puts up with a lot being married to a bobbie like me. I want to show my dear wife how much I care. This is the warrant card that the constable Beat offered to lend to me earlier. Inside, among the rules for patrolling policemen, it says, when a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with the initial investigations and help detectives. Aha! Constable Beat. Was that not the reason why you moved the whole scene of the crime that day? Yes. Everything you said, it's all right.
So that's it. It was all to do with the boundary of your beat.
Oh. Exactly. To summarize, the incident actually occurred on Constable Beat's beat.
Good gracious! Constable, do you realize the gravity of what you have done?
It was the first time since I became a copper that I ever cursed God. Stay close to me, Pat. The criminal could still be lurking somewhere. As we ran over to the scene, I had every intention of doing my duty as a police officer. We got to report this to the station as quickly as possible. But then it dawned on me. I realized where we were, where the victim was lying, and what that meant for me. When a crime is discovered on his beat, a policeman must assist with initial investigations and help detectives. Why here? Why did this have to happen here? Why tonight? 4 nights? Why? It's a copper's job to guard the scene of the crime, so I told Pat she'd have to go to the nearest police box, and fetch whoever was on duty there. It was then, when I opened my mouth to speak, it just came out. I couldn't believe the words that were coming out of my own mouth. This is the next beat to mine, Pat. So I had to go to the police box that covers it, turn right along Meersham Street, and then... Susato's touched. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, Constable. I just wanted, just that one night, to take my Patricia out for dinner. Oh, Rolly, just that one night.
You knew that if the incident was on your beat, your evening of celebration would be ruined. And so you decided to move the entire crime scene outside your jurisdiction. Just across the street, to the east pavement of Briar Road, which falls under the neighboring beat's care.
You see, I thought... Well, I was sure the victim was dead, you see.
I beg your pardon!
Of course he did. Otherwise my Rolly would never have left the whole wheel on the freezing cold pavement.
I see your meaning now.
But God got me back from my sins, didn't he? That's why I missed the rose I bought for Pat. Oh, no, Rolly, that was all my fault. You should never have dropped it in such a dark place. I'm so sorry, Rolly. And can you tell us, Constable, how many books did you move from one side of the road to the other in total? Oh, it was. Yes, definitely 4. 3 of them dropped by Mr. Natsume, and the 4th being the one that fell from the windows upstairs in the Gyardo household, of course. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? When all the others were scattered haphazardly around, I mean. Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it.
How you found it?
What do you mean? When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand.
You're sure it was this book?
The Lion's Pride that the victim was holding? Oh, yes, sir. No doubt about it, sir.
Interesting.
I thought it was an open and shut case at the time, you see. There were only the two people at the scene. Pat and me both saw it happen. Oh, which way you looked at it, it had to be the fellow who ran off who'd done it. I thought. I couldn't see the harm, really. I think moving it all over the road would make a jot of difference. I suppose this is it for me now. I've had it.
My lord.
Yes,
Lord von Zieks. I believe that concludes the cross-examination of the witnesses. Constable, you may withdraw.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Prosecutor, sir, what will become of my Rolly? What will happen to him?
For now, you are free to go home. The police will contact you in due course.
Please, don't punish my husband. This was all my fault. It's because I'm always moaning at him for coming home late. Leave it now, Pat. Let's go home. I'm tired. All right, then, my love.
One last thing, Constable.
Sir?
Let this be a lesson to you. In a criminal investigation, every detail matters, however insignificant it may seem to you.
Yes, sir.
Carve that lesson in your mind. And never again make the mistake of tampering with the scene of a crime.
Never again, sir? You mean to say?
Leave, now. This trial's not yet over.
Sir! Aw, look at Van Zieks being nice. He's like the exact opposite to Edgeworth cutting Gumshoe's pay all the time.
Well, quite a startling revelation, I must say. Who would have thought of a third party transplanting the entire scene of a crime like that? Indeed, my lord. Nevertheless, there are some immutable facts here. Principally, that the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume, is the only person who could have possibly have committed this crime. No, I disagree. Now that we know the true scene of the incident, there's someone else. Another person who could be responsible for the knife in the victim's back. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I believe the prosecution is probably well aware of this possibility already. Lord von Zieks, is this true? Very well. Name the person, if you will, and if further investigation is warranted. The prosecution has no objection to the trial continuing. You will name this other person who could have perpetrated the crime.
Well, probably Joan, I suppose. Because she was throwing things at John, not the other way around. And, like, it didn't prove fatal because, you know. Yeah.
Take that!
The defense would once again like to request the cross-examination of a new witness, my lord.
Once again.
My assistant made the same request earlier. In order to finally reveal the truth about this case. It's imperative that we cross-examine juror number 4, Mrs. Joan Gerdeb. Me? Oh dearie me.
Objection!
That request has already been denied.
Objection!
But the situation is very different now. Mrs. Gerdeb, Answer me this. What do you want now, you little toad? At the time of the incident, you were engaged in a violent argument with your husband, Mr. John Gerardeb. In the course of the argument, a minor house fire was ignited. And to clear the smoke from the room, your husband opened a window that looks out over Briar Road. But what of it? You threw this book at your husband when he was cornered with his back against the window. Upon striking the pane of the open-top hinge casement window, the book plummeted directly down, finding its way to what we now know to be the true scene of the incident. Yes, and as I said, what of it? During the argument, you were beside yourself with rage. As such, you threw not just books, but anything you'd lay your hands on. So, let me ask you one more time, Mrs. Gerardeb. This knife, the one removed from the victim's back, have you really never laid eyes on it before? I don't recall it. Seriously. Am I supposed to remember everything I picked up and threw at my husband? Anyway, the man over there and all that regalia said members of the jury needn't testify identity. Conveniently, yes.
Objection!
No, I have no recollection of saying that at all, juror number 4.
Oh.
Make no mistake, you jurors are not special in any way. You're not immune to the judicial process. If you know something about this knife, madame, let the truth come out.
But this is a common garden knife. Could have come from anywhere. We have several like that at home, and if one went missing, how do you expect me to know? What's that?
Are you joking? What are you saying? Please, Mrs. Gerardeb.
No, you listen to me. I refuse to believe all this nonsense. I barely thought that I injured someone. Do you hear? Couldn't bear it. Oh, the poor woman. So, yes, I want evidence. I want to see hard evidence if you're going to insist on this being my fault. You're going to have to prove to me that I threw that knife if that's what you think. Come along now. Chop chop. To your worst. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. If I had evidence like that, believe me, I would have thrown it at her already.
Then take the stand, juror.
Oh.
The prosecution doesn't object to the defense's request to cross-examination this woman.
Cross-examine, sorry. Thank you, Lord Von Zix. I'm going to have to testify.
Juror number 4. As I'm sure you will appreciate having observed it with your own eyes today. Witness testimony can lead to the most extraordinary truths being unearthed. Truth of which the witnesses themselves may not even have been aware.
Oh, dearie me.
So I demand your full and unadulterated testimony, Mrs. Gerardeb. And mark my words, in this court of law today we shall extract the truth. Do you concur, counsels?
Certainly, my lord. Oh, that's what I'm hoping for, my lord. Sorry, it takes me a little bit of time to say things sometimes. Gotta continuously wet the whistle. Had a cranberry juice. This is such a strange feeling. For the first time since arriving in this country, it actually feels real. I'm here, in the Old Bailey, and I'm a lawyer.
Witness, state your name and occupation.
Oh, yes, my name is John Gerardeb, and I'm, well, a juror and such like. Sounds like even she doesn't know she's a housewife or a maid, or what anymore.
The court has decided your testimony is required in order to clarify matters in this case. Do you understand, madame?
Yes, my lord.
You will tell the court everything that took place in your household on the evening in question. And I warn you, do not attempt to hide the truth.
Oh, dearie me. Chin up, Joni. Nothing to worry about now. Oh, I didn't know you were here, John. Wasn't only you in the room that day, old thing, was it? I think I ought to testify as well, don't you? But what about your knee, dear? Don't you worry about that. Holly knows it. I'm not the sort of chap to leave a comrade to face disciplinary action alone. Oh, John. I presume you are Mr. John Garrideb? Yes, sir. Former 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment of the 4th Northumberland Fusiliers, sir. I don't know how to say that word, by the way. Seen my fair share of action, now living the quiet life, as it were. The quiet life. Were you not engaged in an incendiary battle with your spouse on the day in question? Ah, well, yes. Quite. I believe this may represent a first in the proud history of the British court. Calling a juror to the witness stand is unprecedented. Though the court will hear your testimony now, juror number 4, and that of your husband. You will recount clearly and concisely the events in your home at the time of the incident in question. Sir, at once. What a good husband. Don't you think? Like, getting up beside his wife like this. Yes. On the day you're referring to, the wife and I did have a bit of a skirmish. Can't recall the reason now. Knocked a candlestick over and set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out, though. Got the window open. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could to find to throw at him. Bloody knives around our place. Can't say I noticed if one or two went missing, I'm afraid. That bally thing in the victim's back really was one of ours. You have a job proving it, I think. It sounds as though it was quite the battlefield in your household that evening. Although an entirely one-sided assault, it seems. The enemy caught us on the hop, sir. I had no choice but to dig in and take defensive measures. To be honest, if the enemy had kept shelling us for another minute, we'd have been toast. Of course, veterans such as myself, so I'm too aware that on every battlefield you're just a gnat's whisker from death at any moment. Are we still talking about a marital quarrel here? Well, I must say I'm dubious that this testimony was shedding light on the origins of this jackknife. In combat, one's focus narrows such that surroundings are barely noticed. These witnesses may not be able to offer anything more than they have testified already. This may be a dead end. Van Zees may well be right. Well, whatever the chances, you only have this last cross-examination to uncover the truth, Mr. Naruto. Yes, I'm afraid so. Very well, Counsel. Begin your cross-examination. The Battle of Garrideb. That's good. That is pretty excellent. I know that we can open it. I feel like the fact that his point is missing is going to be of significance. You know? Oh, look here, Miss Snallow, just the tip. A small piece of the blade appears to be missing. Oh, this is them talking about possibly being the victim, right? What if it's not in the victim? What if it's, like, in the book or something? No. This is the victim's hand. It's in pretty deep. That crime scene is moved. We didn't really examine this, but kind of curious about it. English rose. Such a beautiful feather. I've seen one before. You're not taking any interest in flowers, Mr. Naruto. Oh, I saw the cool, like, one of the nicest looking flower things. It was in Japan. Japan blue flower field. Yeah, it's in Ibaraki. It is fucking amazing looking. Look at this. They bloom every year. They're Nemophilia flowers. And yeah, they go crazy. Like, this is so cool. Baby blue eyes. Transparent round shaped feather with sky blue color. Like, imagine just seeing like a whole ass field of these like this. Like in person, I mean. And look, hey, look, a rose. Like, man. Hitachi Seaside Park. It really is like extremely pretty. Like, I mean, just look at that. So, add that to the bucket list of things to do in Japan. Gosh, 3. Yes, plum blossom, peach blossom, and cherry blossom. Perhaps you should consider branching out. Letting some of that aren't fruit tree based, perhaps. Alright, no random piece of steel in there. Weapon I did a bit of scars. Can't recall the reason now. I like feel bad about pressing this because I feel like we're going to air their drama in the court. You know what I mean? But we need info, so we'll do it. The reason is what you told us yesterday, I believe. Yes, that's right. If I remember correctly, it all started because of a note that was tucked into the pages of a book belonging to Mr. Gerda. A rather passionate note, in fact. But Mrs. Gerda found the note, discovering her husband's little secret. And she gave him a mighty number of slaps across the face for it, too. What a sordid state of affairs. Hell on earth. I say, when a chap says he can't recall such things, it's common decency not to drag it all up. Besides, half of it was wide off the mark anyway. A likely story. Do we need to pursue him because he's doing this face? Or probably not, right? That's just him doing his thing. These waters run very deep. And what transpired next after these multiple blows to the face? Knocked a candlestick over. Set fire to the carpet. Soon had it out though. Got the window open. And the fire also spread to some items of furniture, didn't it? The bookcase, my armchair. Anything of mine, really. Just so happens there was some bathwater on that evening, so I sloshed that about to put it out. A most precarious situation you put yourself in. Ours is a 3-story townhouse on the west side of the street, where the water main isn't connected yet. Have to draw water from a public water pump during the day if you need any, you see. The lodge is always moaning that they can't get any water at night. Although that little mustached Japanese man buys water in bottles, I believe. The defendant, Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, he receives a stipend for his studies, you know, from his home country. Can you imagine being able to brew a pot of tea at all hours? He's obviously very well off. Have you actually seen the state of the man? I believe he uses all of his income to buy books. Well, anyway, the point is I was able to douse the fire with water, fortunately enough. Meanwhile, I was picking up whatever I could find to throw at him.
Hold it!
Even though the room was on fire. As far as I was concerned at the time, it was more important to extinguish my anger than the flames. When a woman wants to throw, she must throw. That is most certainly not true of a Susato takedown, Mr. Naruhodo. How did she know I was thinking that? So, please cast your mind back and try to remember. Was a knife among the items that you threw at your husband that day? Well, honestly, I don't recall. But I feel I must point out that I'm no monster. Let me see. Some bread, a cabbage, garlic, a towel, a sponge, a napkin.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, sir? Oh, nice spin. Mr. Gerdeb. Don't shout. Sorry, beg your pardon. Did your wife's remark just now bring something to mind? Nothing of any significance, no. Just that the barrage of projectiles the old thing launched in my direction was somewhat more solid than she implies. Books, bricks, the fire poker, I seem to recall. Ouch. And the woman's aim is uncanny. She landed a direct hit with every bally. Ow! Good grief, woman. We're not at home now. This is the court of law. Oh, dearie me. I'm so sorry, dear. What's she even doing with the teapot in here? Honestly, John, I would never have thrown such a thing at you, obviously. Well, take a look at this, then. How do you suppose that happened, Your pipe, sir? I had this thing in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Not to clean out one of a soft projectiles, she did. Yes. But when I went to pick the thing up, it was broken in two. I like to see a sponge to that sort of damage. Is this going to have the knife piece in it? I see, your pipe was broken. It would never have been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid. Anyway, I've managed to bandage the thing up for now. You are one to exaggerate, aren't you, dear? I wonder what we should make of this account. The defense believes Mr. Gyardov's remark just now to be of great significance.
Objection!
This war veteran's words are only telling us one thing. Betray a fiery wife and pipes, as well as hearts, may be broken. Sentimental wisdom, perhaps, but hardly worthy of adding to the formal testimony. Indeed. Common sense, one might say. Might one. In that case, would you at least permit us to examine the pipe, sir?
Well, I don't see why not.
Oh, dearie me. There you go again, trying to ingratiate yourself with a young lady.
Very well, the court will accept the gentleman's pipe as evidence.
I didn't speak out of turn, Mr. Naruto. I'm just feeling rather disappointed for you that your request is turned down. Oh, no, it's fine. Thanks to Sasato-san, we have some new evidence to work with. We should examine it carefully.
Well, thank you for that rebuttal, Mr. Gyardov. Now we could return to the crux of the matter. What can you tell us about tell the court about the knife used to attack the victim? Okay, I'm going to say because we have new evidence. And wow, am I good or am I good? Oh, something just twinkled inside the chamber of the pipe there. So I saw it.
Something stuck in there, I think.
Let's turn it over and give it a shake. Well, what's this?
It's a tiny fragment of metal. It looks like the tip of a blade or something.
The tip of a blade?
Surely, it couldn't be.
Very good. Looks to be in a sorry state with that bandage around it, doesn't it? But for some reason it feels slightly ominous to me, like it's trying to shout a warning. Probably because it's the same blue as Mr. Gyardov's dressing gown. I suppose it must have been considerable sentimental value to Mr. Gyardov. Given he's gone to the trouble of repairing it like this. Either that, or I can't afford to replace it. Or both. Let's examine this notch where the knife hit it. There's a small nick out of the bowl here, look. It's been made relatively recently. And see other little scrapes and dents all over it. Clearly a well-loved pipe. Yes, you're all right. Seems to me recently that being well-loved goes hand in hand with getting some battle scars. This particular nick is catching my eye, though, because it's clearly new. Well, I'm pretty sure that we could win against this. The question is, should I bother pressing at all?
Objection!
I'm going to roll with it. Mr. Gerda, could I ask you to take a good look at this, please? You can ask, but I can't see a bally thing. You can't? They used to call me Dead-Eyed Deb back in the Regimented Horse. That was some time ago now. And I'm trying to enjoy a large print book by the fire these days. Oh, I saw it in a B from a D and a P from the Q, to be honest. Oh, he does. Dearing me, it's rather wearing being asked about every other letter and every other word. You must be very dozy. That doesn't really translate to speaking, does it? What is that? Tiny scrap of metal? Yes, almost certainly from the tip of a blade. And what may appear at first to be just a tiny scrap is in fact a crucial piece of evidence. Interesting. And where did the defense come by this evidence? It was lodged in the chamber of Mr. Gerdub's pipe. My pipe, you say? By Jove, I wonder how that got there. And what precisely does this fragment of metal signify, Counsel? Are you suggesting that it is some way related to the matter of the stabbing on Briar Road? I am. What? When put together with another piece of evidence already in the court record, I believe this tiny fragment of metal will unravel the whole truth of this case, my lord. You appear rather confident in that extraordinary statement, Counsel. Very well then. Present the pertinent evidence to the court. What evidence, when paired with this fragment of metal, allegedly reveals the truth of this entire case?
Take that!
This is the knife that was found in the victim's back. If you look closely, you will see that there's a small piece at the tip of the blade that is still missing. A common issue with the inferior blades sold at unsavory street markets. Criminals who use them regularly leave the tips lodged in their victims' bones. And what of this particular knife? No doubt its tip has suffered a similar fate, now languishing somewhere near the spine of the victim. No, that's not the case. The tip of this particular knife's blade is the very fragment of metal we discovered in the chamber of Mr. Gerdub's pipe.
Oh, good grief, Lord Von Zeeks. I don't believe it. The knife from the crime scene and this fragment of metal are a perfect match. Good golly gosh. Order! Is this some sort of Eastern sorcery?
This is no magic, my lord. This is a miracle.
A miracle?
So Von Zeeks has figured it out, has he?
Counsel, explain this extraordinary coincidence at once.
Yes, my lord. The crucial point we have to ask ourselves here is, when did the fragment of metal find its way inside Mr. Gerdub's pipe? Something that was clarified for us in the most recent witness testimony.
That is in my hand as usual at the time of the onslaught. Not to clean out with one of her soft projectiles she did, yes. Never been sent flying unless it was hit by something pretty solid.
Oh, dearie me. During the argument between these two that occurred just as the victim was on the pavement below, Mrs. Gerdub flung this knife at her husband. However, the knife missed Mr. Gerdub, instead striking the pipe in his hand at the time.
Which caused the tip to break off, of course. Good lord.
Yes, and that is when the tiny tip of the blade found its way inside Mr. Gerdub's pipe.
The chances of that are 1,000,000 to 1.
And yet there's no other credible explanation for how the tip of the blade ended up in your pipe. Then, after losing its tip, the knife ricocheted off the pipe and flew out the open window. In short, this knife, which fell from the window of the Gerdub's house, is the very same knife that struck the victim in the middle of the back on the street below. Oh gosh, oh dear, oh. No! Look, you can see Gerdub's butt.
Objection!
Oh, he's got the wine out. A full-bodied theory. I'll give you that. A complex bouquet of seemingly trivial points, plausibly arranged to create an almost passable vintage. Allow me to toast my learned friend's characteristically Nipponese approach to bottling his argument.
Sorry.
But after all, it is just a theory. A game theory. The bottle, I fear, is corked. Because, you see, it's sport by an insurmountable inconsistency.
An insurmountable... What?
Lord Van Zeeks, explain yourself. Sorry, wrong voice. What is this inconsistency you claim to have identified? An inconsistency of the simplest nature, my lord. The victim was found with a knife planted in the middle of her back.
Yes, in her... Yeah, she was reaching down to grab the book. That's right, you silly little man.
Oh, Jono thing. What are you getting so excited about? Let us consider the basic facts of the case once more. The victim was walking along the pavement before being stabbed in the back and falling to the ground. If the knife that struck her had fallen from above, there's no possible way it could have planted itself in the victim's back.
That's not true. She bent over to grab a book. Quite right. You see, that's exactly right. If the knife had fallen on her from above, it would have struck her on top of her head.
Well,
He's lost for words, look. I knew it. I never liked his theory in the first place.
I don't know, though, what really did happen. It appears the defense has made a rather spectacular blunder. If a theory has even one inconsistency, it cannot stand. Your theory, my learned friend, is history.
We are so close. I could see the truth. I was so sure we were on the right track. But now the way's been blocked completely. But just one simple inconsistency. Or in other words, we simply need to eliminate that one inconsistency, and the theory will stand. Miss Susato. You mustn't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. You were just caught off guard. That's all. And your mind went blank. But if the path you were on is indeed correct, then a way will present itself. The key to this is in the court record, I'm sure. All the information you need is there.
It seems you have nothing to say, my Nipponese friend. Or your silence speaks volumes. A tacit acceptance that your theory is fatally flawed.
Objection. Thank you. This inconsistency doesn't mean I was on the wrong track. It means that I need to sharpen my mind and dig deeper for the truth. It's a test. Yes. If the knife fell on the victim from above, there's no way that it could have hit her in the middle of her back. Under normal circumstances, that is. Look at that smug, confident smile he's got.
What are you implying? Counsel.
There is a piece of evidence in the court record that can explain this inconsistency. They can explain how the knife that fell from above could have pierced the victim's back. We already have the answer. Good goodness.
Utter madness. Surely this must be the last time. Counsel, present the evidence of which you speak.
This is the last inconsistency. The final piece in the puzzle. If I can successfully make sense of this, the truth will be laid bare at last. The evidence that explains how the falling knife became lodged in the victim's back is... the book. I think it's this one.
Take that!
Gonna go with this. This, the fourth book found at the scene. This is the final piece of evidence the defense will present.
The burnt book.
Is that not Mr. Gairdeb's book?
Yes. And to understand its significance, we have to consider how it came to be at the scene in the first place. This photographic print clearly shows the book in question, and the victim holding it in her hand.
But as we all know,
No.
it was the police constable that put the book between her fingers like that. Quite so. Part of his wholesale transplant of the crime scene to the opposite side of the road.
I almost said cream scene.
That's true, however. As part of his testimony, Constable Beat made an extremely enlightening statement on that point. But what made you place that book in the victim's hand? Oh, well, sir, that's because that's how I found it. When we first ran over to the scene, the victim was already holding the book. So, when I moved everything, I made sure it was still in her hand. In other words, the victim had already picked the book up of her own volition. And clearly that must have been before she suffered the knife wound.
Well, I should say so. After being attacked with a knife, I don't imagine she'd have been doing much of anything.
So the question becomes, why did the victim have that book in her hand?
By jingo! I think I'm beginning to see what may have happened now.
Oh, dearie me.
We know that the book fell from the top floor of Gairdeb household onto the pavement below, at precisely the moment that the victim was walking past.
Yes, at exactly that moment. The young woman was walking along the street in the light fog, when all of a sudden, a book fell right in front of her. The book I threw. Yes, Mrs. Gairdeb. And what do you think the woman did? What would you do if you were walking along and suddenly a book landed in front of you on the pavement? Well, I really can't imagine it, but I suppose she might have reached down and picked the book up. Yes, that is exactly what the woman in fact did. She picked up the book. Oh, heavens. And when the woman reached down to pick the fallen book up, what position would her back have been in? That's right, facing the sky, completely and utterly defenseless. Then, in the very next moment, while the woman was still bent over picking up the book, the next object fell from the room above, the jackknife, straight into the middle of her back. At that same time, walking by chance directly behind Mrs. Green, was the defendant, Mrs. Soseki Natsume.
Well, I never...
It appeared to Mr. Natsume that the woman simply collapsed on the floor. In the dark and the fog, he didn't see the knife falling on her from above.
And from the other direction, the constable and his wife saw no one but the victim and her apparent attacker. So there never was a real culprit to run from the scene in the first place.
No, this was nothing more than a series of unlikely events that culminated in an unfortunate accident. And that is the real truth behind this case. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Gairdeb? The very first time you showed me that knife, I had my suspicions. I wondered if perhaps it might have been something like that.
Well been.
Poor Mrs. Gairdeb. Of course, I never meant for anything of the sort to happen, but it was all my fault, wasn't it? I take full responsibility. Now let my anger get the better of me. I threw that book, and I threw the knife as well. John, dear.
It's all right, I know.
I'm ever so sorry. Truly. I'm sorry. Catch her, John.
Oh, damn it. Oh, there we go. Good. Good man. Be like your wedding photo. Man, there's been so much love in the courtroom today. The beats, the Gyarados.
Lord Von Zeeks, what news of Mrs. Gyarados?
She's been taken to the infirmary. It would appear that today's events had left her in an especially flustered state. However, I believe she will recover in due course. There's no cause for concern.
Yet unbeknownst to them, they caused what could have easily been a terrible tragedy.
They shall have to prepare themselves for the consequences of their actions. There's some good news, however, my lord. I've just had word from the hospital, where the victim is being treated. Her condition is improving steadily, and the doctor believes she will regain consciousness soon.
It's strange. We've been talking about the victim all this time, but we've never once met her. Oh, how wonderful! The woman's out of danger, it seems.
Yes, that is good news. Sorry. I was just thinking about how cold it's only got in my room.
So, Mr. Soseki Natsume.
Yes?
On behalf of my fellow countrymen, I would like to take this opportunity to beg your pardon, sir.
Sorry, sometimes I really can't read.
You came from your distant eastern homeland to study our great British culture. You have been repaid with immeasurable unkindness. Please accept our heartfelt apologies.
No, it is me who should be begging your pardon.
No, Mr. Natsume.
That evening, when the young woman just collapsed on the pavement before my eyes,
I jumped to the wrong conclusion again in my confusion.
What conclusion, sir?
I was sure that the woman was dead. Yes, Constable Beat said the same thing, didn't he? He thought she had been killed too. I suppose she must have looked completely lifeless. It's been about a year since I arrived in Great Britain now, but I still can't get used to the life here. I can't relax. Sure, there are evil spirits lurking in the fog, but they're haunting me. Poor Soseki-san. His imagination really has got the better of him. Yes, poor man. So, when it happened, I thought the young woman who were taken by the fog spirits. I should never have dropped my books like that and run away. I should have called for help, for a doctor, for the police. Instead, I've managed to create a rift in the relationship of trust between our two empires. And for that, I am truly sorry.
One could indeed say that some sort of mischievous spirit has been at work here, I think. One that created a chain of unfortunate mishaps. We were befooled by this spirit and led to false conclusions. But thanks to Lord Von Zeeks and our young lawyer here from the east, that chain has now been broken and the spirit exorcised. I heartily commend you both. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Yes, my lord. In concluding this trial, I must ask one last time for your decisions regarding the defendant's culpability. Are you ready to present your findings to the court? That's the foreman of this jury. Can assure you have reached a fair and just conclusion.
I do declare the truth can be extremely cruel at times. I didn't suspect the woman next to me, that's for sure.
Sitting in for the old bean while she's out of action, you know. I know what her decision would be.
Does this mean I'll finally be able to get out here and start work? Well, it's about time.
I say, but Cork will have a story to tell the grandchildren when I get home, won't I?
Very well. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I hereby demand your final decisions. Mr. Foreman?
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Some of those voices really don't match to the faces to me, but you know.
Very well. Mr. Soseki Natsume, I hereby pronounce you
Not guilty. We've done it. There's fireworks in the courtroom.
And finally, Mr. Natsume,
Yes, Lord Sir.
you're now a free man once more. It is my hope that you continue to further your education in British culture. And may you never again be brought before me.
Oh, yes, sir. Of course. All my life, I swear I'll never set foot in a courtroom again. I'm transported to tears.
Thank you, counsels. Court is adjourned.
Oh, locum. Wait, you mean me? Of course! There's another locum here. Is there even one? Compared to the original locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, your name has become rather short, hasn't it? What's wrong with using my actual name? Oh, at last! I'm free! I'm free! Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Heady, hearty, happiness, hurrah! Oh, I am pleased. Miss Natsume is delighted. It would be so hard just to say that, but... Locum, you did it! You saved me from the brink! Well, what happened to the poor woman was in no way your fault, after all. I'm just glad everyone can see that now.
No, not that. Lovely, loyal, locum, lawyer!
Yes. I mean, as I said before, I've just never got used to life here in Great Britain. Every time I look over my shoulder, I see foreigners, see towering brick buildings, and from high up windows, I see them looking down on me laughing. Look at that little hunchback. Oh dear. I'm sure it's all in your head, Mr. Natsume.
But today, you, locum lawyer, gave my gloom the boot. You stood firm behind that baronial bench before all those babbling British. You battled to the bitter end, laying bare the baffling truth. And when I beheld the blinding fireworks among the beams of the Bailey's roof, I bellowed, "Behold the best barista ever born!"
Well, that's very flattering, and we're very pleased for you.
This is giving me a wonderful anecdote to recount to my old friends back in Japan.
An anecdote? Yes, is that what's to become of all my hard work? There you are, my dear fellows. Sherlock? Sorry, Sholmes. I apologize for keeping you waiting. I rose late this morning. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, what a pleasure to see you. I see I'm here not a moment too soon. The disaster has been averted, I'm glad to say. Oh. The trial shall begin presently, Mr. Naruhodo. I wish you the very best of luck. It's just finished. What? No. Then my haste was in vain.
Oh, it's you, Sherlock Sholmes.
Oh, have we met, sir? This is Mr. Natsume, the man you had arrested, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, I see. I failed to recognize you at first. Our previous encounters have taken place in the gloom, either your bleak lodgings or that prison cell. I simply couldn't place that curious face in the light. Charming.
This is all your fault, Sherlock Sholmes. The reason I had to go through this terrible ordeal. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind.
My apologies, sir, but I assure you, I have placed you now. You're the fellow who abandoned that poor young lady and ran off, are you not?
Had she been taken to the hospital more urgently,
I feel perhaps she would have regained consciousness by now.
Oh.
But it was unavoidable, I'm sure. We are but human, after all. Anyone would have been shaken by such an experience.
I do feel very badly about how I behaved.
Well, never mind. Now then, what was all that you wanted to say to me, sir?
Nothing.
Priceless. Oh, I am sorry, really, but that was quite priceless. Poor Soseki-san. Still, on the bright side, we had an extremely entertaining experience without paying a penny. And, it would seem, you were not even found guilty.
but there is no bright side.
Whatever do you mean, Mr. Natsume?
Even after this, I'm still cursed by the spirits and another by the Reaper.
Ah, Lord Von Zeeks.
I've forgotten, you know, what facing that man in court means.
If you're found not guilty, you're still doomed. It will be all right, Mr. Natsume. If the Reaper appears trying to make trouble, I will protect you. Hi-ya! With a perfectly executed Susato takedown. Much as I like being turned on my head, a bit of warning might be might be nice next time, Miss Susato. Sorry, the concussion. It's messing with my words. So, Mr. Natsume, what do you intend to do now? You mentioned something about recounting your experiences to your friends back in Japan.
Yes, I intend to return to my homeland soon.
Oh.
It has already been a year since I arrived here in Great Britain. Visited universities, libraries, bookshops, in honor of the tutelage of professors. Learned so much about the wealth of literature here and the city has shaped. Come to realize that it's my calling to sail home and tell my fellow countrymen about it.
That's very touchy, Mr. Natsume.
Well, perhaps less veiled terms. You wish to withdraw halfway around the world to escape the terror of the Reaper's curse. That's not it at all!
The more I learn of literature, the more this strange feeling claws in my insides.
I feel compelled to return to my roots. My roots? Return to my roots in an attempt to pen a work of my own.
Oh, I see. A work of literature by Soseki-san. Could be an interesting read.
And what about Miss Susato and yourself, Miss Naruhodo?
Sorry, what about us?
Will you return to Japan alongside your mustached compatriot?
Why would we? A week has not yet passed since we arrived in London. And only now does it feel as though we have finally found our feet.
And you are accommodated in a hotel at present, are you not?
That's right, but we need to find lodgings before it bankrupts us. I've calculated we can only afford another 10 nights before our entire budget is exhausted.
Well then, you would take my lodgings.
Oh, the windowless room.
But what it lacks in windows, it more than makes up for with a floor, a ceiling, and walls.
Great.
Of course, be happy to leave behind the accursed evil spirit.
Oh, my. An evil spirit? Oh, yes. It tries to suffocate you while you sleep. It's an infallible wake-up call. Well, we'll think about it, if that's all right.
Perhaps I can offer a more welcome alternative. Would you consider taking lodgings with me?
Really? Well, a vacancy has conveniently presented itself.
Though it is up in the attic, I might add.
Are you sure it isn't just a storage loft?
I spoke with the landlady this very morning on the matter of the price, and Iris is cleaning the room as we speak. You must come at once. I presume you have no luggage to speak of.
Oh, this is simply wonderful. What an honor to be invited to take lodgings in the Great Detective's office's attic. I'm too overcome for words.
So, suggesting we look elsewhere's out then.
Then it's settled.
Iris will prepare a welcome dinner this evening. And you must come too, Mr. Natsume. I insist. I don't know what to say, but thank you, and yes.
Wonderful. Then I'll go and complete the paperwork for your formal release, Mr. Natsume. It shan't take long.
Somebody's happy. Locum, I knew that you wouldn't let me down. I'm truly delighted.
Sorry. Sorry, it's a little bit late.
I'm truly delighted to have met you here in London.
Likewise, Mr. Natsume. It's been a privilege meeting you too. It's a shame that we're going to have to say goodbye so soon.
Well, come to realize that I belong in Japan. But Locum, we'll meet again one day.
Yes, I'm sure. And hopefully by then I'll be a successful lawyer.
Hopefully by then, I'll be a successful author. Oh, my dear fellow, our carriage appears to have arrived. Shall we go, Mr. Naruhodo?
Yes, Mr. Shelms.
I have little doubt that Mr. Natsume will release in time for dinner this evening.
And so, with Soseki-san's innocence successfully established, we rode with Mr. Shelms to what was to become our new home, 221 Baker Street. It does have an upstairs. I have been there. To the real one, I mean. It's a Sherlock Holmes museum. Or at least it was back then. I assume it still is. Well, Iris did a good job, like, cleaning it up a bit. So this is to be our new office, yes. Oh, office. I rather like the sound of that. Me too. It's simply wonderful, isn't it? I hope you can see this, Cosmo. It's only a small step, but I like to think we're getting a little closer to your dream now.
So, my dear fellows, do you like the place?
Oh, look, he's not wearing a coat this time. Mr. Shelms. Yes, thank you so much. It's a delightful room, Mr. Shelms. I simply adore it.
Good. I'm pleased to hear it. Arsenal are delighted to welcome you.
Hope everyone's hungry. It's nearly time for dinner. We'll eat as soon as Mr. Natsume arrives.
A lot to celebrate.
Iris, you must let me help you. All right then, Susie. You can be in charge of the salad. Splendid.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, how does it feel to have your own office in the capital?
It's very exciting, actually. I can't help wondering what adventures await us.
Oh, this was precisely my sentiments when I first established my office at these premises. Until I discovered the dark truth about the city of London, that is.
Sorry?
London is a glorious place, full of wonder, opportunity, prosperity, and mirth. But the brightest of lights casts the darkest of shadows.
Shadows? What do you mean?
Well, I believe you're well aware of the murkiness that lies behind London's facade already. So once again, Mr. Naruhodo, welcome to London.
Of course, at the time, I had no idea of the significance of those words Mr. Shelms so casually spoke. But it wasn't long before my turn came to lift the facade and see the true depth of the murk that lay behind it. Perfect. And, oh sorry, I'm in the way. And I tried to make me go away, but it didn't work. Achievement unlocked, landed in London. The adventure of the unspeakable story. Alright, well, we will watch that next time. Oh, it's gonna be the Hound of the Baskervilles. Cool. Return to the title screen for now. I'm not gonna do a preview this time of the next thing for a very specific reason. So we will continue this lovely game, but we've been doing Great Ace Attorney and Yakuza for a little while now, and mainly just them, some Splatoon here, there, and what have you. But the Humble Bundle happened again as per usual, and so there's a number of games that have come to my attention. So it appears that I now could own Death Stranding, as well as Alien Fire Team Elite Roller Dome, Life is Changed to The Life and Suffering of Sir Brant, Monster Prom, Revita Founder's Fortune. But more importantly, you can see, I don't know if this is actually here or not, but they do have Signalis in
in the vault. So I might check that out. So there's other things as well, like Biomutant and a couple other things. The Sachi wasn't that good, but Biomutant is one that I do want to check out at some point. Signalis and possibly maybe this Bryant game, perhaps, are all like random little games that I would like to look at or maybe peek around a bit. And so I'm not sure what I'm doing this Thursday yet. There's some people who have been texting me about other alternative places for trivia. So I don't know if I'll get sucked into one of those types of friend adventures this Thursday or not. But I might take a short break from all the Great Ace Attorney stuff just for a teensy bit of time to like get a little bit of variety in, because I've been feeling slightly stale. So we'll see. So just an FYI. I do want to get to that Hounds of Baskerville case though. Maybe I'll reread the Sherlock Holmes like novel itself on it. I have it in the other room. So anyway, that's it for tonight's stream though. So thanks for hanging out and thanks for watching and suffering through all my British accents and whatnot. I really wish the lighting in my room was better, because I definitely feel like my mouth movement isn't being caught at all right now. It's odd. But my poor VTube rigging aside, thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all another time, another day. And you know, hopefully tomorrow for the finale of Yakuza 5, because that is what's happening tomorrow. So I will see you later. I think I might have Japanese class tomorrow, which means that we would start at around 8:30 or so Eastern. But I'll let you know, because I'm not entirely sure. So bye for now.